may find yourself shut up in a one-room flat. And you may find yourself in the same old part of the world. And you may find yourself staring at an unused automobile. And you may bore yourself.
Good morning, DragonCon. It is 9 a.m. and we have clipboards. That means it is the late show. There is sun and outdoors behind us. That means it is Saturday. Welcome to Parade Saturday here at DragonCon. I am Stephen Grenade, one of your hosts, joined by Vaughn and TJ. Please say hello to our lovely audience.
Hello, lovely audience.
Hi, guys.
Very happy to be here.
I'm trying to decide, is this day 2, 3, or 4 of the convention? Day 5, maybe? We're just sort of like trapped here.
I got here since Tuesday, so...
Oh my gosh.
4, right?
Right.
Yeah, I've been working since Wednesday, and depending on what you got to do, it's very tiring. Like you said, you forget the hours and the days. So I don't even know what day it is. I just know it's parade day.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like, I have to look at my phone to say, oh yes, today is Saturday.
Yes.
Well,
Saturday, we got the parade coming.
Yep.
That's the important thing this morning.
Yes. Are there things after the parade that y'all are excited to go see?
I'm just gonna sort of like mingle and just
nice.
look around and whatnot. Last night was evening at Bree, and that was super awesome. And I'm still recovering from that. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna mosey around.
I'm actually gonna go to a few panels.
What?
I'm gonna go to the Marvel panel. I think that's at 12, and then I'll also be going to a few of the things this afternoon. You know, DragonCon is for the party, so I'll definitely need to try to get some rest before then. But that's what I look forward to tonight.
Oh, and we got the Hobbits here.
Oh yeah.
That's a panel I'm going to
Yeah.
later today for sure.
Yes, most of the panels I end up seeing are thankfully broadcast by DCTV, which is how I learned that Patrick Warburton is rocking a heck of a stash. I don't know if you saw him.
wow.
Really?
He came
I
out with like
missed
the
that one.
blackest mustache. I was like, is that painted on?
For some
like a
reason,
CGI?
I literally got this image of like Peter from Deadpool. If Patrick Warburton
yeah.
had a mustache, does he look a little bit like
A
Peter?
little bit Tom Selleck too. Like it's
Tom
just
Selleck, wow.
not
Wow.
quite as square,
So
but it was
is that
giant.
bushy? That bushy?
Giant.
Okay.
So, enough about mustaches. Let's talk about what you can see coming up. So we have a new event this year from the Electronic Frontiers Forum, the Learn to Hack Workshop. I assume the FBI is listening in here.
Yeah.
So today on Saturday, 2:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. in Marriott A601-602 on the atrium level. So if you are a beginner hacker or never hacked before, you can try your hand at, and I will emphasize this very strongly, legally hacking into a virtual server in their own virtual cyber range. They'll have a small number of laptops available, first come, first served. It is unstructured, it's walk-in, so at any point between 2:30 and 6:30 p.m. this afternoon, head on in there, try your hand at hacking.
Yes. If you are interested in
The
registering,
gateway to hacking. Sorry.
Yeah. So if you're interested in registering or attending the Cults of DragonCon costuming contest, this announcement is for you. So make sure you listen up. If you have a cult themed cosplay, you have to register between 5:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. on Saturday, which is today, in the Cortland Grand Valdosta. After 6:30, they will go to the backstage of the Grand Ballroom to sign up by 7:15. For those that are attending and curious to see how the cult of John has grown and evolved, the show starts at 7:30 p.m. It features our DragonCon's own Crispy and Jarvis Hammer from the Boulay Brothers Dragula Season 5. This is the second year of the contest, and it promises to be bigger and better than ever. The Cults of DragonCon are always showing up, and it's a big presence here, right?
Yeah, and I was not prepared for us to be recruiting for cults here on TV. So we've had hacking, we've had cult recruiting. What else do we have for our audience?
Well, so we've reformatted our popular Splendid teapot race into a kid-friendly version. So if you have a youngling that really just has like that racer spirit and loves the pinkies up, just bring them out. They're invited to join the first ever racing teapot. I'm gonna butcher this word, Dematase League. It's the first year, so have some fun.
Yes, make sure you show out. DragonCon is for everybody, all parts of the family. So
And we have so many events for all kinds of people. It's really incredible.
I want to like sort of redirect the topic back to the parade here. We
Yes.
have a very certain vehicle that's going to be making a debut. It's the 25th year anniversary of the Mystery Men movie.
wow, it's been that
Also,
Yes.
no, that is not correct.
And we have
I'm crumbling into dust.
We have a Herkimer Battle Jitney that's going to be in the parade, all right? This thing is like a bunker. It
Yes.
looks amazing, and I actually got to ride in it.
Wow.
I had a little bit of fun going around the block here in that last night.
Yeah.
And we're going to actually show you guys some footage of that. So,
Yes. I think you get all.
yep.
25 years?
That is not right.
Is it not right?
No, it's correct. I'm just.
No,
You
we
are,
are old.
you are
We are
technically
old.
correct, but it is wrong.
Delilah brought 2 books that are not out yet. So one is, one isn't. All right, I'm gonna touch your T-shirt, okay?
How high up does the camera? Like, where does it start?
About-
yeah,
yeah,
it's-
at our
yeah,
knees.
yeah.
Somewhere between a half and 2/3.
Why don't we put these books in my lap and drop this down so I don't have like.
I'm gonna leave your hair back just so we don't get like ASMR sexy hair going on.
I feel like I'm wearing a Dune still suit now.
However, we need to
This one
get
recycles
forward.
words.
Yeah.
So we will protect you in just a minute.
They actually think we're superheroes in here.
Oh crap, I had the intercom on.
My inner monologue is my outer monologue.
This is TJ from DCTV signing off. See you at the parade.
We're still reeling from the fact that it's been 25 years since Mystery Men.
Yeah.
But to move away from that and our impending crumbling into dust, we have our first guest with us, Delilah Dawson.
Morning, everybody.
Prolific, award-winning, best-selling author.
Keep
Welcome.
talking, keep talking.
Absolutely. Who has a Dragon Award nomination for which book?
Midnight at the Houdini.
Excellent, excellent.
So we do want you to get as many votes as possible. So can you give us, I don't want to say 1,000, I don't want to say 500.
Yeah,
but
words are not my jam.
Can you give us a quick elevator pitch of this book?
Sure, Midnight at the Houdini is a sweet, slightly spooky YA romance. It is set in a magical hotel and has a type A kind of teen protagonist who does not believe in magic and is forced to believe in magic. It's inspired by Shakespeare's The Tempest and Sleep No More, the play experience in New York and Las Vegas, and up close magic, that sort of thing. So it's just, I wrote it during the pandemic because I needed to escape somewhere. So I escaped into this book.
Nice. So there's a lot of revenge and forgiveness sort of threaded through the book.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how you came to those themes, how you combine that with things like Sleep No More and other kinds of experiences?
Sure. So, I mean, the setting, the hotel is the setting. It's a magical hotel that basically it kind of sends you where it wants you to go. You may think you want to go to the 3rd floor, and it may think you need to go to the 6th floor. There's a magical room where all the clothes that you try on fit you, and all of the shoes fit and are comfortable. If you get lost, a white rabbit will show up and kind of guide you along the way. I wrote a lot of books about revenge. I did not have a happy childhood. My dad's dead now, so I can be totally mean about it.
Ooh, wow.
So yeah, I have a lot of revenge books. I have a couple of them in my lap, actually. But this is also about redemption and bringing a teen girl together with her father, and as she comes to grips with the fact that she's been kind of holding up her whole family, supporting her family, being the adult in a situation, and suddenly now that she can understand magic, she's allowed to have some magic too.
I love
Speaking
that.
of lots of books, you're a very prolific writer, and you have written from almost every genre that there is to think of.
This is true.
We're talking about fantasy, as you said, horror. We're
Yep.
talking about comics, which I am definitely into.
Comics.
Why can't you just pick one genre and stick at it?
I mean, because of contracts. When you sign a writing contract, they're like, okay, well, if you write this for us, you can't write it for anybody else. So I go, okay, cool. Next thing I'm going to write is for this other person. So I like to spread out like little spider webs. And also, I have ADHD. I get really bored. So I have to. I'm like one of those sharks with obligate ram ventilation. I have to keep moving or I die.
No.
So yeah, I just keep writing, and it's so much fun. And I've gotten to do so many really neat IPs. Like I've written for Star Wars, Minecraft, Marvel Action Spider-Man, Labyrinth, Adventure Time, Firefly, just
Good golly.
almost anything. I love it.
TJ was talking about it off air. He was like, when he just looked up your name on Amazon, it's page after page after page after page of just books that you have written. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
So how do you get into some of those IPs, like writing for these different properties? I assume like Star Wars, it's lightsaber battles, right?
Oh,
you have to
yeah,
show up
obviously.
and zoom, zoom, zoom.
Yeah, no, I have a purple lightsaber. I have a silver lightsaber. I have a yellow lightsaber.
You're ready to rock.
I'm so ready to rock. You become a traditionally published author by querying agents, getting an agent. They sell your book to editors. You get in with the big 5 publishers, and then after a while, if you are into IP, which is all those properties and franchises you love, you ask your agent to maybe send out some inquiries, and then they kind of start coming to you. So my first one was for Amazon Kindle Worlds. I got to write a Shadow Man story, and then I jumped right into a Mike Mignola anthology, which you don't always get to do. And then things just started coming, and it was all just really, I feel so fortunate because it's the most wonderful thing is to contribute to these worlds that you love that have been such a huge part of your life.
So one thing I did, like when TJ went told me about the Amazon thing, I looked at myself, and then I saw that you actually have Star Wars books and Star Trek books.
No.
Oh,
Nope.
you don't?
I do not have Star Trek. It's been floated a few times, but I feel like in order to write a franchise, it's best if you really, really love it and are part of it. And Star Trek is cool, but I never connected with it. Like, to me, Star Wars is real. Like, I'm sorry, Obi-Wan Kenobi is as real as Theodore Roosevelt to me. It's real to me, and the Ewoks were the things that brought me in. So I've been in I was sleeping in Star Wars sheets before I'd been able to see the Star Wars in the theater because you couldn't do that in the 80s, and it's part of my world. And Star Trek, I'm like, I like the new ones with the explosions, and they're like, no, you can leave.
So I want to ask a question. What are your top? I don't want to get you in trouble now, but
Which of your children is your favorite?
That's essentially what I was going to ask. What are your top 3 IPs that you've written for? If we don't want you to get in trouble, but
Well, I can tell you some of the more unique experiences in IP are for Star Wars. I got to write the book Phasma, so I got to meet Gwendolyn Christie. I got to go to San Francisco and read the script early while drinking a Jabba the Hutt drink on the Presidio. And then when Disney was opening Galaxy's Edge, the theme park, it is featuring one of my characters named Vi Marati. And so I got to write the book about the theme park before it was open and go there before it was open and kind of be a part of things. So I can walk into Disney World and speak to my character like Snuffleupagus, which is the coolest thing on earth.
wow.
So does your process change for writing like comics versus like a shared world, someone else's property versus your original stuff?
Oh yeah, very much. My original stuff, I get the idea and I just write. It's like, I'm going to go on a road trip, pew, and you're just gone.
Right.
Whereas IP, there are discussions with the editor, there are discussions with the property holder, it goes back and forth, outlines, things get changed. I get told you absolutely can't do that, and then I'm like, please? So it's a much longer process. And then comics are kind of challenging because we have to go through that outline back and forth, but then you have to plan out, not here's the book, but well, how many issues do we get? How many pages? And then you have the surprise page turn. So like you always want the surprise to be on page 2 because page 1 you see here, and then you go, oh my God, page 2. So evens, odds, you have to plan that out and then leave room at the end in case they're like, you know what, we need 1 or 2 more issues, or let's do another 4-parter. So comics take a lot more thought, and then the artists do 100% of the hard work. The artists, the inkers, the colors, the letterers, comics are this kind of really wonderful way that the work comes together where I think what I do is the smallest part.
Cool.
It's the smallest part, but it's also the biggest part because you deal with the backstory, you deal with the lore. You have to give them that skeleton for their stuff.
I'll give you a skeleton.
Right. I'll give you a skeleton, praise Delilah Dawson. So you have some other books that you have snuck in here
Yes,
today?
I'm keeping these with me because if you're on a panel and you build a fort in front of yourself, people are forced to look at your books and it gets into their heads. Yeah, so this is Bloom. It's one of my prettiest books. It has really gorgeous end papers. It is basically if Hannibal was two girls at a farmer's market. My daughter asked me
Wow.
why all the hot serial killers were dudes, and I was like, let me write that book for you. So, yep, this one is available here and everywhere books are sold. And then this one isn't out until September. It's called Guillotine. It also is very beautiful, and it is basically Saw meets The Menu. It's about a billionaire murder island, so if you are having some rage at billionaires and you're not an orca and you'd like to feel some catharsis, I've got the book for you.
If we can't sink yachts, we can at least read these books.
At least
yes?
we can read these books and feel it in our souls.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Yes,
Thank
thank you so
y'all.
It's
much.
been such a pleasure talking with
Yes, make sure that you vote
Yes.
for
Yes.
the Dragon Awards. You can also vote for Delilah.
Yes, Midnight at Houdini is up for the YA award. You can vote through, I think, midnight tonight, and then the awards are announced tomorrow at 4.
Yes, so make sure you vote. The QR code is on the screen.
It's free and it's easy, and you don't even have to have a badge or anything. You can just vote.
Yeah, so everyone
Go do
is
that.
watching
I made my children vote for me.
multiple times. But yes,
It's a family endeavor. So, Ryan visited the Center for Puppetry Arts to see the Fraggles Forever event, and we've got a clip from that.
I'm Ryan from DragonConTV here at the Center for Puppetry Arts, and we are here to get down in Fraggle Rock. I'm here at the Center for Puppetry Arts with Kelsey Fritz, who is the museum director for the new exhibit down at Fraggle Rock, and we have some questions for you, Kelsey. What is Fraggles Forever, and what can you tell us about this exhibit?
Our exhibit here down in Fraggle Rock, that's open through October 20th, features puppets from the original 80s show as well as the new Apple Plus reboot. So you get to see also a whole bunch of really cool archival sketches on loan from the Jim Henson Company archives of how these puppets were built and designed and made.
So tell us, what can DragonCon attendees expect to find at this wonderful exhibit?
Yeah, so you can find all of your favorite Fraggles, so Red, Gobo, Moki, we've got Doozers in there, Gorgs, Wembley, so Sprocket, everyone's favorite dog. And in addition, we also have our Worlds of Puppetry Museum, which is our permanent exhibition gallery as well, where you can see additional Jim Henson things from Sesame Street and The Muppet Show. Dark Crystal and Labyrinth are usually big fan favorites with our DragonCon attendees, as well as our global collection that has puppets from all over the world.
So tell me, how does it feel to have all the Fraggles here together and to be able to host such a great event?
It's really exciting. We love partnering with DragonCon, and we love partnering with the Jim Henson Company. It's really been a long time since we've been able to have so many of their puppeteers here. So we're really excited that it was able to coincide with this exhibit, so people can see them here in kind of a more historical context, and then also see the puppets live, both here in our event tonight, and then also throughout the weekend at Con.
Was it like to be partnered with the DragonCon puppetry community?
It's really exciting for us. Atlanta has such an amazing puppetry community, in part because of the Center for Puppetry Arts being here, but also because of DragonCon and its long history of having a puppetry track, and all sorts of relationships with the community, both locally and nationally. So it's always really exciting. It's something we look forward to every year, and we're always excited to be able to open our space up to people who might not be local to Atlanta or might not know we otherwise exist. If you are at DragonCon this weekend and don't have a chance to come over to the Center for Puppetry Arts, we welcome you back. If you just show your badge between now and any time at the end of October, you get 50% off of museum admission.
Dance your cares away, worries for another day. Let the music play, down in Fraggle Rock.
We're very excited that we get the opportunity to partner with the Center for Puppetry Arts. This is a con with so many things, including in this case puppets, which I think is incredibly awesome.
And we would like to welcome our very special guest, Dr. Emily Zarka here, host of PBS's Monstrum on YouTube.
Thank you for joining us this
Thank
morning.
you so much for having me.
At this incredibly early hour.
So, Dr. Emily is a monster expert, quote unquote. This is a title that you dubbed yourself, but I really think that is an amazing title, because before it was just something in books, like Van Helsing or whatever, but we have a real life Van Helsing right here. So please tell me, how did you get into this?
Yes, I've loved horror since I was a little girl, and then just really doubled down in college. What I truly believed is that monsters have meaning, and a PhD in horror and Gothic literature, and a PBS show later, and here I am, monster expert.
I love it.
So you mentioned that they have meaning. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I don't believe that anything happens in a vacuum, and so my research looks at why are we creating this specific big bad or other at this moment in time, and why maybe do those stories persist. And it's my opinion that there's always some little grain of truth in every monster.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a fossil, or maybe that's a missighting of an animal, or maybe that's something that's happening politically or socially in that culture and the time, and that we create stories to explain the things that we don't understand, and monsters are one way we do that.
Yeah, it's fascinating how like the mythology of monsters like develops and whatnot. I was talking to you earlier about just how, you know, vampires and that myth came out, and there's just weird things that happen throughout history that people just go, without science, oh my gosh, you know, this is how we explain this. They're undead, and you know, and you studied that, and that is so cool.
I'm very lucky to do what I do, and even now with the scientific knowledge we have, there's still so much to learn, and I'm really interested in digital folklore because we're still creating these stories and making these new monsters, even when necessarily like we have the science, we know they're not true. Doesn't mean that like fantasy element is gone, and I think that's really powerful.
So how have things changed as we have moved into sort of a digital creation world? Has that shifted the monsters that we make and have?
Yes, I've seen two sort of trends. Sometimes it's more nostalgic type monsters, or sometimes they're very digital based. So something like Siren Head is a really good example of that. That was big on social media a couple years ago, where it combines sort of this idea of like the fear of the emergency alert and old tech with being watched, and you know, with the fears post-COVID, we're in a world where, you know, tragedy does happen. So it's pretty crazy to see that evolve. I also think that digital folklore allows for collaborative storytelling. I know here at DragonCon we're like more familiar with that idea, but I think for people who don't necessarily have that outlet, being able to create a monster or add an extra story or make their own picture or sighting of a creature can be something that brings people together.
Yeah, I agree. And also, you're not only a monster expert, but you have a fascination with serial killers. Tell us about your Audible original.
So my Audible original, Serial Killers Real and Imagined, does talk about true crime and, you know, real life human monsters, but I'm more interested in looking at the archetype of the serial killer as like a creature that we have, and looking back as far as Elizabeth Bathory and werewolves and vampires, in addition to, you know, real life serial murderers, because I think that the way we construct even human monsters is in part based on a legacy of fictional monsters, and it all sort of blurs together in really interesting ways.
I feel like there should be like one of you in every major city, especially if like there's like just
we call that a YouTube show.
Well, like imagine if these things did start coming about, you know, like Ghostbusters, but instead of ghost monsters start becoming real and whatnot. It's like, who do we call? You know, and we have a monster expert.
I'm
here,
ready.
And you're just like, all right, this is everything I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always joke that I would survive an apocalypse,
You
zombie
would.
apocalypse, not because I'm the strongest or most brave, but just because I know the most, and I'm the most paranoid because I've read so much about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through sort of in an abbreviated fashion, how do you start with, well, monster, and then eventually over here, I'm going to do a show about it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what does that process look like? Because that sounds fascinating.
So the undead were really my entry point into studying monsters, and while I was writing my dissertation about the undead in the 18th and 19th centuries, I started picking up like more threads and going down those wormholes and finding more meaning in these monsters. And I was thinking, like, this isn't just a dissertation, this isn't just a book, like this is a whole universe to explore. And I'm really passionate about making sure that education is accessible to as many people as possible. And I think, I mean, I teach at a university, but even that's like a paywall there, and that's, you know, obstacles. So working with PBS and someone like YouTube really allows me to take all this research and knowledge and love that I put into trying to figure out these monsters out there in the world in a way that's fun and hopefully engaging for people.
Yeah. And what's probably like the most interesting monster that you've come across so far?
If you don't say dragon, it's going to be
And
thrown
if you
down.
can, you know, we'll try and keep it PG. I know
Yes.
there's some pretty gory,
Some
crazy
gory
monsters
stuff
out there.
My top two, just bizarreness level, would probably be the Knuckle of V and the Mononongal. So the Knuckle of V is from Scottish tradition, and it's a skinless horse with part of a skinless human grafted onto it. It's terrifying and disgusting and lovely. And then there's the Filipino manananggal, so a self-segmenting female vampiric creature who flies around at night with her intestines dangling out.
Wow.
And that is the stuff of nightmares.
Yes.
Happy morning, everybody. So I'm interested to hear how your outreach like that has harmonized with your teaching at the university, and how that's been sort of within academia.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think that there's sort of two schools of thought that, more people who are public scholarship and feel the way I do are like very into it and very supportive. And then there's some of the more old school, like tenured folks who think what I do is absolutely crazy. And that's fine, because that gives me the opportunity to explain why monsters have meaning. And I think that one thing I do with, at least working with YouTube and public scholarship, I've gotten a lot more adept, I think, at connecting with my students, but also making really, really dense ideas accessible and trying to make them fun. So they all think, not all of them probably, but some of them probably think I'm completely out there. But I know I've had instances where I've been able to identify with students and get them engaged even in something like rhetoric and composition, just by connecting with them on a different level through monsters and fantasy and fiction.
Well, and having to like craft a story for a show that's going to have to entertain people.
So
as
I
well
do
as...
do 2-sentence horror stories for Halloween. That's always a lot of fun.
That's awesome. On your
super
YouTube
cool.
channel?
No, in class.
Oh, in your class?
Yeah, in my
oh
classroom.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay,
I love
so
that.
I like the idea of doing it on the YouTube channel, though. That can be really fun.
Well, I watched your YouTube channel. I saw a few episodes, and they're informative. They're not super long. They're very quick, and just the amount of information in there is just fascinating. How you just give us the bullet points, but I'm just kind of like, I need to do more research on this. This is the most interesting.
And it's bullet points from pages and pages of notes. I mean, that's the hardest part of the show from my perspective, is not, the hosting, and it's the research. And I do all the research myself.
Imagine the books that you're going through are like all old leather-bound, dusty.
Some of them bite you when you touch them.
Archives, old dictionaries. I try to pull from everything, and that's what I think is really cool about Monsters. Is I'm not just pulling from fiction and fantasy and literature. I'm pulling from art history and science and politics and archaeology and paleontology, and that's such a cool thing to do. That keeps me really engaged as a scholar. So I'm just really fortunate.
If you ever come across like a scroll or a book with like some very weird like faces on it, and the ink isn't like black, it's more like a dark red, just don't read it.
I know enough. I've seen enough for it, I've read enough for it, no, stay away from that.
Not that. Well, I love that you're working in this space, because that's one of the things that we end up doing at DragonCon. I organize the science track, we have a space track, we have robotics makers, ones that are sort of bridging the quote-unquote reality or the outside world with the fictional world. And I've certainly seen some reactions of people like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why are you going to talk about the science of the Fallout universe, for example? Because it's cool.
It's cool.
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about dragons. I mean, we're at DragonCon.
Yeah.
Give us a spiel on dragons if you can.
Oh, dragons are fascinating. So there's different types of dragons across different parts of the globe. I'm partial to the Chinese long dragon, just because I think the history there is really rich. It's connected to, their monarchy and their politics, but also their dragons can talk and are intelligent, which seems super cool.
Yeah.
But the more popular dragons are great as well, as I'm sure everyone here at DragonCon knows.
Thank you so much for being our guest on here. Everybody, give it up. Give it up for our monster expert.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Anytime.
I appreciate it. Monstrum on YouTube. Go check it out.
Say hi in the comments.
Yes.
And speaking of monsters, we've got a parade coming up.
We do.
We can hear them in the background. People are shouting and giving out Gatorade and water. A couple of sirens have happened. We will have the full parade streaming to you on this channel, hosted by Crispy, coming at you very, very soon. So are y'all going to do something after the parade? What are your plans
Watch
for the con?
Parade. Get a coffee, watch the parade, and admire all the costumes.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just going to drink some coffee. I'm just going to mosey around the floors and figure out my next steps from there. But I got the Hobbits panel coming up later today. That's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to.
Excellent.
So
I feel like coffee is in the future for all of us. And for those of you who enjoy coffee or tea or a beverage of your choice, please do so. Have a wonderful rest of the con, and stay tuned for the parade. Thanks for joining us.
That was weird. It was like Captain America right there.
You're just like, I must salute as we are going off the air.
That was great. That was good.